Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. Today we have another bonus episode with me and my friend Michelle Byrd from the Busy Vibrant Mom podcast. And we are talking about household responsibilities, contributions from our families, financial management for our kids, as well as holiday decorations and activities, since we are definitely in the thick of the upcoming holiday season. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation. Grab your coffee or tea, and I will be back with a regular episode next Thursday. Bye for now.
Hey friends, we are back here with Emily and we're hanging out and talking all kinds of productivity and fun stuff and organization and things that are coming up. This is our coffee and tea with an E session and we're excited to hang out with you.
Yeah, hey everyone. Hi, Michelle. I don't know, you probably can't see me, Michelle, on video, but I have a little bit of a residual suntan from spending a weekend in Mexico a couple weekends ago, my first ever girls' trips. It was restful and restorative and all the things that it should be, just a tad too short. We were only there like 2.5 days. So next time we go for a little bit longer, but very happy for my bucket list in my life that I can check girls' trip off the list. So yeah, that's been the most exciting thing that's happened since we last spoke.
And how many girls went? You said you just for a couple days. Next time it should be a week, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was with three of my friends. So there were four of us total. So it was a nice group. We had never traveled together before. So then it was also kind of feeling out kind of how we did traveling, and it was at an all-inclusive resort, which was really nice too. So we didn't really have to worry about, too much. It was lovely. And the only downside is that there's a lot of seaweed this time of year. So the beach wasn't like open and available. So that would be my only thing. They just had these big trucks that were like picking up all the seaweed all day. So it took a little bit away from the ambiance of being at the beach, but we spent a lot of time poolside and did some of the activities and stuff. So we had a wonderful time, and we're already trying to plan our next trip.
I love that. Yeah, they can be so refreshing when you have just some time away with some good friends, and especially at an all-inclusive where you don't have to worry about meals. I think that was probably very smart because then one person didn't feel like they were cooking, or you had to ask everybody or find out what does everybody like or budget wise and all kinds of different things come into play. You could go and everything was taken care of so that you can make your own decisions.
Yeah, I think the hardest part was transitioning to my real life when I came back. Because I wasn't going to do meal planning like in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I came back on Sunday night and I'm like, okay, I guess I have to get groceries. I guess I have to do some laundry. I mean, my husband did a great job keeping things running while I was gone. It was just more, I think that I'm always a very structured person in my day to day and have my rhythms and routines, which I really appreciate. But then just like having nothing, just not having to worry about anything, it was so nice. And then it was kind of like hard for me to transition back into the normal rhythm of things. But I am officially back on track, so that's good. And of course, it is for a lot of people, myself included, sort of a busier time of year. So I didn't have a lot of time to kind of get my feet up from under me. I'm like, okay, we have soccer practices, and I have to figure out what I'm feeding these people. And I'm giving myself grace, though, as I always do with the house not being fully cleaned yet. I keep going into the same bathrooms, like, okay, I'm going to clean this tomorrow. But luckily, my husband and especially my children have very low standards when it comes to cleanliness of my house. It's just really me that cares. No one else seems to care.
I totally agree. I think that's our house too.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you?
Well, I was away. I went to MomCon. It's a group of, so it used to be called MOPS, and then they rebranded, and now they're called the MomCo. And so every year they have an annual event where they have all the moms from all over. Usually, if you're in a MomCo group, you would go, but really, you can go whether you're in one or not. They don't care. So it's not like you're showing your membership at the door or something, but it's an annual event for moms. And so it's awesome. They have a lot of speakers. They kind of build you up and like go through a lot of things that you might need. And there's workshops, and there's an amazing band they usually have on stage that's like full worship music and everything. And it's like a concert. Like they have strobe lights and, high tech stuff. And it's a huge stage and they have video stuff behind them. I mean, it looks like you're at a big full on concert. So it's really fun. And you can choose to do whatever you want. If you want to skip all the sessions and go hang out by the pool, you do. If you just want to, there was a lot of friends, girls who went early or later and went to Disneyland because it was in Orlando. So they went to like Epcot Center or Disneyland, and then they would go to the rest of the sessions or leave early and go hang out in Disneyland for the evening. You could just do whatever you like and whatever works for you. So that was really fun. But definitely I found the same thing. Like when I came home, it was like hit the ground running. I came home and I was like, did you get any food from? Like no grocery list, no like, oh, we went to Trader Joe's and got all the food for the week. Cars didn't have gas in them. The meal planning wasn't a thing. It was like out the window. There was like things still all over the place, like a big piece of furniture that we were getting rid of that's upstairs. It was like, okay, we need to ask somebody to come help us get it downstairs because we can't lift it on our own. We need another person. And that was still there, still hanging out. And so all the things I like kind of came home and like, okay, what do we got to do? We got to get ready for this week. Who has practice and where are we going? And I just feel like when I'm gone, probably like when you're gone, it's like, meow, meow. Like just the base, the surface level, everybody is like staying fed and alive and gets to some of the places that they have to go to. And that's
Some of them.
some of them.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I just finished reading the book Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. And I'm actually on my podcast, I'm going to be having someone come on that I met at a summit, and she is a Fair Play certified, I don't know what her position is, therapist, something like that. But it's really about responsibilities, like domestic responsibilities, and there are actual, like you could get the deck of cards if you want to, but there's 100 cards, and it's looking at who is responsible for the conception, planning, and execution of said task.
Mm,
So, when it comes to sports, for example, my husband, I would say, although we're not doing this fair play system specifically, but where some of the breakdown happens is if he does the sign the kids up and he does the, okay, it's on the calendar, but then we haven't confirmed like who's taking who and some of the actual execution and logistics. That's where
right.
things can get a little muddled. So the recommendation is that whoever is holding that card, whoever has the responsibility, has the full responsibility. If you need someone to kind of tap in and help for a specific reason, you can, but then there's something that they call the minimum standard of care. So that means we've agreed upon like the baseline of what the acceptable thing is, and you agree with your partner on that so that there's not this like confusion or resentment or people end up doubling up and whatever. So I've been thinking about maybe doing some sort of version of it. I feel like things work pretty well, but then there's always room for improvement because inevitably I think, okay, I'm getting ready, so my husband is helping the kids with this, but it wasn't expressly communicated. And so then who knows, maybe he is really trying to get out the door, but then he's feeling resentful that he's having to help because I'm just like, he's probably like, oh, she's just in there doing her makeup or what. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad he's taking care of it. So sometimes we just have to make it a little bit more explicit between each other so that way we're not, again, fostering that like resentment, which can
Right.
happen.
So what?
Yeah, the assumptions are a really big thing. So for me, it would be like, okay, if I wanted like the minimum standard of care is that we have like some basic things in the fridge when I come home from a trip, for example, I would have needed to like communicate that to him because similarly, he didn't want me getting groceries for the days I was gone. He knew that he was just going to take the boys out, which I don't have a problem with. You don't have to cook while I'm
Right.
gone. But then it's the like, I'm back now, what type of thing. So I think in the future, I might kind of be a little bit more on top of that and communicating like, hey, is it possible you can get these basic things and that those can be in the fridge when I get home? And I think it's like, you know what I mean? He wouldn't have any problem with it. It's just not making assumptions and then coming home and looking at an empty fridge and be like, trying to avoid the moments as much as we
Yeah,
can.
I think I did the second one.
But I
But
mean,
yeah,
it's
I feel
normal.
like you don't.
We're like, what did they do the whole time? And they
Right,
did stuff, but then
right.
it's like we just see like the piece of furniture that hasn't been moved, right?
Yeah, definitely. We know that they did stuff, but it is our assumption of what we would have done or what things should be done by the time we get home is different. And so they're like, well, we did all the things. We went out to eat and we had a great time and we made it to church and we did these things. Yeah, I didn't know you wanted me to pick up groceries.
My kids made a point of telling me how many scoops of ice cream they had, and I just smiled and nodded, like, that's fine, whatever. But yeah, I think that for me, especially now we're in this transition sort of season right now where my husband's job searching and being in the DC metro area with layoffs and stuff, it's not the best time to be job searching. So I feel like he needs to kind of put his efforts towards that. And I'm like, some of this stuff, like kind of talking through, we might kind of put some of that on the back burner while he's trying
Right,
to
right.
figure out his life. But it does certainly help just sort of like, yeah, like the day to day, like who's doing what. And again, not doubling up. One of the examples in the book that I thought was really helpful was if both parents are getting an email from the school about like sign up for something or whatever. Like right now, it's parent teacher conference time of year here. So if Pat and I had both responded and both signed up for two different time slots, then it would be like duplicating work. But because it's clear that any sort of school appointments and stuff are my domain, then that isn't happening. But it is, in this age of like everyone's getting emailed and messaged and pinged for every possible thing, it's a lot more work than I think it's been in the past. And so it's just really important to know who's doing what, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And you're so true. We get emails about every little thing and then also notifications on like a sports app. We have emails about the sports app and we have notifications on the sports app about the sports. And so you're like, I I have all the information. I know that there's, try basketball tryouts today. I got it. And then you get an email about it, like their basketball tryouts. And you're like, I got it. So a lot of that, yeah, it's easy to double count or have to both say, oh, I thought you were doing this. I thought you were doing this. So there is oftentimes a lot of back and forth of like, did you take care of this? Okay, I got these tickets for this. Did you see this announcement? Yeah, all kinds of stuff. And I find that that usually falls on my plate at least to ask, like, hey, did you see this? Did you get this? I've heard that some parents, what they do is they split. So if it's a high school and a junior high, one parent takes care of the high school, one the junior high. Or if you have two kids, one takes care of that kid, one takes care of the other kid. And also, if you're at two different schools, that's an easy split, 1 to 1. But I've
Yeah.
heard like splitting.
It's interesting because Pat and I, we both like work at home, at least right now. And yet today's an example where I haven't seen him at all. We've been like ships passing. And so sometimes I think, oh, there's things that I want to check in with him about. And then a lot of times during dinner, we're having more like family conversation. We're more talking to the boys, how was school and whatever. So that time right before bed, of course, when we're both trying to like decompress, is usually when we have to do that informal check-in. Normally we will have like sort of a really informal weekly one, just kind of like, okay, let's look at the week. Like, is everything okay? But I do find just that really quick check-in at night is helpful just from like a logistical standpoint because otherwise it's like we've noticed sometimes he's getting the emails and I'm not or whatever. But do you have any kind of like formal or informal check-in?
That's a great question. We tend not to do it right before bed. Sometimes if there's something that's on our mind that we remember, but I think the main thing we've started doing is if we get an email, we either immediately talk to the other person, but sometimes he's often in meetings all day long, or I'm in a meeting, or I'm on recording. And so you can't really talk to each other. So then I will text him, hey, did you take care of this? Or I'll forward the email to him and say, hey, did you look over here? Did you take care of this? Or do you want me to buy tickets? So we communicate that way, whether through text or forwarding emails. The other thing I've noticed that's handy now, this has gotten into trouble, but we have a family text thread. And so oftentimes I'll text the kids like, hey, do you want me to sign up for this? Or did you want to go to the carnival? I'm going to get tickets. Do you want to do this other thing? Do you want to go here? And so they can get it on their phone and see that I'm asking them questions. And I don't have to remember, ask them about this question, because then I forget halfway through the day. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I needed to ask you about something. Something else will remind me. And then I ask them. So I have noticed it's easier to do it in the moment, to do it either through email or through text or through family group text, because then there's like four other people on the family group line. And so someone on there will remember one of those 4 or 5 people. So we have done it that way. But recently we ran into problems because my middle one, I just don't know. Maybe it's boys versus girls, but like I tell him things and then he's like, I never heard that. You never told us that. I don't know what you're talking about. Like today they had basketball tryouts today. And so I said, okay, well, last night you need to pack your bag for basketball tryouts. You need shoes, you need whatever else you need. And I think your bag is ripped. So you need to find another bag. But all of a sudden he's like, what? I didn't have tryouts tomorrow. Basketball shoes. Well, you're going to have to find something. And it's tomorrow. I told you this weekend, like, look for some of the stuff you need because on Tuesday you have tryouts. It just kind of goes
Mhm.
right through.
Yeah, I've noticed, I mean, not that my kids are on their tablets for very long, but if they are, it's like they will not remember a thing I say. I mean, I've joked before where I've just been talking to my husband while they're on the tablets, and I'm like, okay, so just so you know, the circus is coming. They're going to pick up Andrew so they can take him to, he can live with the circus people. And he doesn't hear a thing. I could be saying that I'm sending him to the moon and he won't hear it. But yeah, I've noticed that like I cannot have a conversation where I'm telling them to do something or reminding them to do something. But one of the things that we've been utilizing just so like I'm not the bad guy is that you can pause like through the Amazon Parents app because they have Kindle Fires. You can pause the devices. So sometimes, like what we've been doing is instead of me saying, okay, guys, it's time to go out to the bus, in the morning, it's time to go to the bus, it's time to go to the bus. And they're like, oh, but I'm about to score a goal. Oh, you know how it is with kids. They're like, just one more minute.
One
Then
more.
it just automatically pauses at 7:45 in the morning. And they're like, and then I'm not having to nag and nag and nag. So that's been really nice. But yeah, I have been trying to also figure out for my youngest. He said something the other day, which was the first time I thought that maybe he might have some focus and attention issues. Perhaps he's 7. And he said that he noticed, like, when he's supposed to do his routine in the morning, that in his words, he drifts. I thought it was a very interesting word to use for a 7-year-old. He drifts, like his kind of mind drifts and he goes on to something else, whatever. And I've seen some of these like visual checklist things where you kind of move. They're like plastic and you kind of move something from one part to the other, like when you checked it off, right? And I'm wondering if something like that, if like he knows his routine, but if he can visually see like these are the things that I need to do, or I'm just wondering how to kind of support him in that because he tends to just sort of, like you said, like I could remind him, okay, it's time to do this, it's time to do this. And he's just kind of like floating around. So I think I might look into that and just sort of experiment with it and hope that that will be kind of motivating to him to see like, okay, this is the next thing and the next thing. And then I can, whatever, do my tablet before I go outside or out to the bus. Yeah.
Right. But it's a visual and that it's also looks like it sounds like you would move it. So
Yes.
it's an action thing plus it's visual to see the chart and see that I haven't put my socks in the wash or whatever it is. And so you'd move that little thing.
Yeah, and I think just my kids, like most kids, siblings are very different. And my oldest will just sort of do it, and he just kind of gets the sense of achievement from it's done and then I get to do this. Like he's very, I guess, self-driven, maybe is the right word for it. Whereas I think that the dopamine hit for Sean will be like, oh, I can follow it and kind of go through, and it's helping me to stay on track because he gets frustrated by it. And again, this is the first time that I've really noticed it. We were always like, my husband and I were like, well, we know he can do this. So why won't he do it by himself? Like, why is he saying that he needs company to do it? And I think it's because when he's just kind of on his own, it's hard for him kind of to focus on it. So it's something we're going to keep watching, but I do think that I'm trying to think creatively about like tools to sort of help. And the other thing that I've been struggling with, so anyone can offer advice, Michelle, you definitely, is we've tried different iterations of contributions. Like they have their routines, they have their morning routine, evening routine. There are certain things that they have to do and they just do them. But when it comes to putting away folded laundry or vacuuming a floor or cleaning a bathroom, I did have a rhythm where like during the weekend they had to do like one or two things, and it worked for a while, but there wasn't like a set time. And so then it would come Sunday night and they're so tired and they're like, oh, I don't want to vacuum the floor, you know? And so then it ended up just falling on me. So part of it is I want them to learn how to do these things from like a life skill standpoint. And part of it is I think they need to understand why the contributions are important to being part of a team and being part of the family, but they don't seem motivated to do it for money. They don't seem motivated to do it for any kind of extra screen time. And I know, which is surprising to me because normally they're very motivated by those things.
Right? Yeah.
But they just are like, oh, yeah, okay, so you give me $1. Like they don't really care. And that's not enough motivation for them to actually do it. So I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know if it's just like, okay, it's just a requirement and it has to be done by noon on Sundays. Like, you have the whole weekend until noon on Sunday. Then, I don't know. If you have any thoughts or if the listeners have any thoughts, I'm all ears because it's something that I feel like they're old enough to do. I want them to start doing it, but I haven't figured out the right way to approach it with them that it's actually going to happen. And I'm kind of at a loss.
Yeah. I would say your kiddos are old enough that you can sit down and talk and say, like, hey, we're all part of a team. This is what we need. As a team, we need to make sure our house is clean. And these are your responsibilities. I'm wondering if taking away stuff would be more motivation since they don't seem to be motivated by adding things, by being like, if you don't get, I realize that you have your own things you want to do over the weekend. Just get what these chores done by Sunday at 12. And then that way they're all finished and ready for the week. We as a team need them to be ready for the week. And if you don't get them done, then I'm going to assume that you just don't have enough time. So I'm going to take away video game time or something so that you have enough time to do those chores.
Yeah, it may have to be that. The other thing is my oldest is very social, like in the neighborhood with some of his friends. And part of it is when they get off the bus after on a weekday, after like a full day, then they usually have just a little bit of time before dinner and then if they have soccer. And I want to make sure that they have time to just like see their friends, to just like go to the basketball court for a little while. So that's why I'm thinking the weekend might be better because that way I'm not sort of saying, okay, the minute you get home from a full day of school, you have to clean a bathroom. I think that would be kind of tough to do. And I want them, it's sort of that tension between wanting them to be able to enjoy things and like have their social time in childhood and whatever, but then also like, hey, we have to start being part of the team and having that team mentality because I said to my husband, I'm like, are kids entitled? Because I feel like we've been working really hard so that they're not, but then they're not very forthcoming with their thank yous. And they could see that I'm trying to carry like 15 bags into the house and they're not like offering to help carry any of them. And I'm like, I feel like I'm trying to do a really good job as a parent, but then they don't have this like team mentality, if that makes sense. So I'm going to give that a try. Maybe I'll report back in our next chat, but it's been something that's been on my mind for a while. And then I've just been kind of feeling like I don't have the right approach and I don't want to waste time and energy on something that's going to like flop, because then you kind of don't look like you have any credibility, I feel like, as a parent. If you're like, oh, well, I know you said this, but nah, mom changed her mind and now it's this, and oh, we're never trying this. And kids can see through that, I feel like. So I want to be able to make sure my husband and I are on the same page and we come as, a team and kind of have this conversation. But okay. Well, I will give that a try. Thank you. That's very helpful.
But you always have the option to flop or to change
Yeah.
your mind as a parent and to say like, hey guys, I've noticed this isn't working. We set it up this way and I think we're going to change it to this, preferencing it that way of like, we realize this isn't working. What should we do to fix it? Kind of thing. Cause they'll run into that all the time, right? In life of like, this isn't working. We need to pivot.
Well, that's why I was surprised when I was saying, hey, I'd be happy to have sort of a list of things that need done. And then, I'd pay you to do it. And they have no interest. I'm like, well, and it's not that, if for some reason there are extra things, we have them pay for it on their own or they kind of do without. For example, Andrew wanted like some random stuffy. And it's like, okay, well, you can pay for that on your own. Or if he uses all of his lunch money too early, which he tends to blow through like crazy, then he has to pay me money if he wants to buy lunch for the rest of the week. So, like, we're not out buying them all the things so that they have all this money. It's just more, I don't know. It's like, that's not worth $1 to me to vacuum up.
Right. They're
Like,
just content with like what they're doing and they're just
yeah,
not motivated by
yeah.
those
They
things.
have other things. Yeah, that's right. They're motivated to spend their time elsewhere. So then that's when it needs to be more like the changing it to the working as a team and why this is important. I keep saying to Andrew, like, okay, well, you're 9, almost 10, which means you're halfway through to being out of here. Just so you know, when you leave here, you need to know how to cook a meal and do your laundry and clean. Like, you need to know how to do that. So maybe
That's
we
where
can.
we're going.
And he's like, Mom, you can just wait until I turn 10 for that. And I'm like, okay, well, just because he doesn't want to do it. I'm like,
Right.
no, it's not going to
That
work
doesn't
like
work.
that. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, I feel like it is sort of that, again, that tension of like really wanting them to enjoy their childhood, but then there are certain structural things that have to be in place. Like I knew from the get-go that I was never going to be like the cool mom, But my mom was very strict, and so I was like, well, I don't want to be like that strict, but I don't have to be the like super permissive mom. So when they are asking to do, sleepovers on a Sunday night when it's a school day the next day, I'm like, no, like just flat out, no, I'm not even going to entertain it. And I'm okay not being the cool mom if that's what the cool mom is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have a good idea of where you want to go, what they need to learn, and that kind of thing. I think a lot of times they just aren't cued in. Like they're just, they see you with a bunch of packages coming in the door and they don't even think to come help. Or they see dishes, piling up in the sink and they don't even think, oh, this should be rinsed off and put in the dishwasher. Or they see like, a pile of dishes laying out drying and like these need to be put away. So those are some of the things that I'm noticing. Like for me, it's really easy for me to just pick stuff up or to, take care of jobs around the house or to put these things away. But I need to be asking so that they like a light bulb goes on of like, oh, look, all these dishes are in the sink and they're really dirty. And if we leave them here, they're going to get ants. Like, we need to, as part of cleaning up the kitchen, oh, look, I see this needs to be done. So I think it's just a work in progress. My kids are pretty good if I ask them specifically to go do that, but they don't notice and they won't initially go do it unless
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, can you go put all these dishes away or the chairs sitting out here? Do you see all of these? Yeah. Can you clean up this thing that you have over here or this box or who opened the Amazon box and left stuff here? Or, are you done with this thing that you left out? But you don't always want to be the one that feels like you're nagging them and clean this up, clean this up.
Well, I think the other challenge that I have is that my kids are very cognizant of the mess that they have made and the messes that other people have made. For example, if they had a cookie after dinner and they inevitably get crumbs everywhere, right? And let's just say I asked one of them to clean off the table, then I would have one of them say, well, I didn't make those crumbs. So they would only want to clean the crumbs that they made. And I think to myself, Do you know for the number of years I have cleaned up other people's messes? Like it's mind-boggling the number of messes I've cleaned up that weren't mine. So again, that goes back to the like having to have that family team mentality, which I don't think we've really communicated it to them in that language. So because that's some of the pushback I get. Well, I didn't make that mess, so I'm not
Right.
going to clean that up if I didn't make it. And I'm like, okay, well, but yet you want me to help with the mess that you made.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we had that last night. We had stuff that we cleaned up from the living room and the kitchen, and we put on the stairs. Like, okay, all these things need to go upstairs that were brought downstairs. And then it was like, well, these aren't mine. This isn't my blanket. These aren't my books or whatever it is. This isn't my water bottle. And it's like, you are going upstairs. You can take a load of things upstairs that may or may not be yours. But the same with the cookie. They're like, well, that's not mine. So and so should like take it upstairs. So it's that team mentality of like, we all are picking up. We have picked up things that you have. So you get to serve somebody else and pick up their things. It is okay.
Yeah. And I think with all the church services we go to and everything, I'm like, can't this mentality of like service stick in your brain? But apparently we need a little bit more repetition. So
Yeah.
that's okay. It's a work in progress, right? Always a work in progress, but it
Something
is
we're learning.
something, yeah, it is something that I do want to focus on. I think that'd probably be like my main parenting focus right now is just like, let's figure out the ways that they can help contribute to the house. Because then coming back from a trip and feeling like, oh my gosh, like everything's falling on me, that's when you can really not only feel resentful, with your spouse, but then also with your kids. Kind of like, don't they notice the like color of the toilet water? Apparently they don't care, which makes me scared for when they go to college, but we have some time. We have some time before that happens.
Yeah, I heard there was like a bunch of college moms talking about the difference between bringing a boy to college and a girl to college and what, they got cute stuff for their room and, the girl wanted certain things and like certain bedding and had picked things out. And the boy didn't care, but the mom brought, organizational things because she knew you're going to need this. And so she brought it. She fixed it all up and he was like, great. And the dad was like, okay, let's go get you some food and like fill up your fridge and you'll be good. But
Oh my gosh, that is funny. I haven't heard that one before.
then you'll know if they haven't cleaned their sheets and taken it off, they didn't find the money that's down there.
I will remember that one. I will use that test, and something tells me I'm going to find that $20.
Right? I know. Yes, definitely. There's a difference between boys and girls.
Yeah.
Yes. And between, I think we've talked about maybe age order. Like your firstborn has a different personality than your second, than your third. And so that's all different. And depending on if it's boys or girls, and then depending also how close they are in age, some then, if it's a really far gap, they become like a firstborn again. I think it's like 5 to 8 years. If that's a larger gap than 5 to 8, then they typically become more like a first child, even though they may be second or third.
Yeah, I think that the reality I live in is with them so close in age. That's like all I know. Right now we're doing, I mean, it is, October, but we're doing the seasonal change out of clothing finally, because it's finally starting to feel like fall and realizing how much they've grown because they're trying stuff on. Mom, this is too small. Or like they come down with pants and they're up to like their calves. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, apparently I need to go shopping and get some more clothes for them. But they are like the same size. So it just makes it, I don't know, very different in personalities, but at least the clothes shopping is a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's funny, we were just talking about clothes shopping because Bo had to buy new basketball shoes. And so they get a clothing allowance and he hasn't had to buy as many clothes. Either he has gotten them for free or he's been given them or they've just magically appeared. But he hasn't really had to purchase that much out of his own clothing budget. And so he's far less interested in finding a deal, in like trying to get the shoes on sale. And he was going to buy, I think they were from Nike. So he just went to the Nike website and looked at it and was just about to buy it when my husband was like, "Wait, did you try Amazon? Did you try somewhere else to see if they're cheaper?" And he was able to find them like $10 cheaper. And he was kind of like, whatever. So we were like, okay, how can instill that like you can buy, your money can go further and you may need it to go further because you may need to buy other things than you weren't thinking besides basketball shoes. Or you can't spend all your money on basketball shoes. Maybe you needed a coat or mittens or some other piece of clothing in the next like few months. So it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. My daughter, who's done it a lot on her own anyway, has like 100 tabs open on her computer at all times and knows exactly when sales come on. She has sweatshirts or things she knows she wants. She knows exactly, okay, this is going to go on sale at this time, or I've been watching this. I can get this sweatshirt and this shirt and these pair of shoes for exactly this much. Or, oh, I'll wait till Black Friday and then I'll get this. Whereas he hasn't quite learned how far he'd like his money to go or the value of, oh, I could get this and save this much for this one. So that's where we're kind of like working through how to teach that. And I don't like a boy girl thing or
Well, I just know I could not have the mental capacity to do what your daughter does. That sounds like a nightmare to me to be paying attention to that. But I do use a Chrome extension called Coopert. It's like coupon, but it's Coopert. And it will go through all of the promo codes automatically for you just to like see if you're saving. And then if there's other websites where you could get that for like, oh, you could save $10 on this site, but it like does it for you, which is really nice. So then I make sure, especially if I'm getting like athletic shoes or things that I
right.
buy online, which I don't do a lot. I'm a little different than most in that for clothing and stuff, I like to actually go try stuff on in the store. I'm not a big fan of online and send it back. It's just me, my weirdness. But anyway, if I'm
Well,
getting things like
forever.
that, yeah, then it's like, oh, I know that this is the best promo code and everything. So that helps me a little bit, with like the comparison shopping. But no, I think you're right. I don't even know what my kids would do. They would just be like, oh, just go on Amazon, mom, just get it there. Like they have no sense of other places with the exception of me taking them to DSW to get shoes occasionally.
Right? Yeah.
Small, but yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to fit. And that kind of goes with like the money management conversations with kids, which again is probably the next area I want to focus on because we haven't done a great job. They're just like, oh, we just get money for birthdays and whatever, and we just spend it however we want. I'm like, okay, well, yes and no. And we haven't quite gotten to the no part. One thing at a time, right?
Yeah. It's just, they're at different stages learning those. And I think it will take, because my daughter's been able to like, oh, I really want this new sweatshirt or I want this piece of jewelry or this thing or these Ugg boots or something. And so, okay, do you have enough money? No, I don't. Okay, so you can't buy that thing that you would like because you don't have enough in your budget. So she's had to wait or she can't get what she'd like. So now she knows, okay, if I can get it on sale, I can have more money to do these other things. Whereas my son hasn't had that happen yet. And so he's been able to just buy things as he would like. And also he's far less. He's like very like, I have 10 shirts, I'm fine. Like I have, 15 pairs of socks, I'm good. I have 2 pairs of shoes. He doesn't need as much but he's kind of starting to get into a little bit of caring.
Yeah, I feel like that does tend to happen a little bit.
Take him not being able to get something he would like to get. I think
Hmm.
him to have to learn it because I think a lot of the lessons he tends to remember or learn are by experience
Yeah.
versus somebody telling him. So like, oh no, I don't have my stuff for basketball. Basketball's tomorrow. Oh, mom told me. Like, he'll need to learn like, oh, I got surprised by that. So I'll need to next time maybe listen or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. He might. It might go in one year and out the other. Who knows?
No, I do appreciate that because I've always told myself that I'll be the parent that doesn't like the helicopter. I'm not going to be the helicopter parent that kind of like swoops in to save my kids when they do something like that or like make a mistake or whatever. I haven't had a lot of experience with like having that question. I did have one day where I wasn't sure whether homework made it in my son's backpack and I was out for a walk and I like stopped in my tracks and I was like, oh my gosh, oh, what if it's not there, you know? And then my husband's like, it's okay, you know? And here I was like going through all the scenarios. Oh, would I take it? Oh, but I think it is good, like you said, especially for the kids that learn more by that experience and are shaped by that, to be okay with letting them fail. And that's something that I know, especially for my oldest, because he's a perfectionist and hates making any kind of mistakes. It's going to be a tough lesson for him to learn. But I don't know. It's interesting as a parent, you like know that that's the most helpful for them, but it's hard sometimes not to want to intervene and
Right.
help them out like when
Yeah.
those mistakes are made.
Love and Logic has a lot of this kind of stuff of like, you want them to fail to some degree and to, something doesn't go right on a small basis so that when there's a bigger consequence, that they've learned from that smaller consequence.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I know you've mentioned Love and Logic to me before, but I keep forgetting. So I will definitely take a look at that. But yeah, at least part of it is the age too. You know, like some of the mistakes that they're making at the age that my kids are kind of, small in the grand scheme of things. So it's more getting them used to that and being able to recover from that now so that later on when they're, teenagers and beyond, they kind of have a sense of what to do.
Also, this is kind of tangentially related, but at a parenting conference, I heard that you should also make your kids like, what's the word? That they're not comfortable, that not everything is routine. And so you mix things up every once in a while, or, if you're used to sitting at the same seat at the table, every once in a while you like sit somewhere different, or you have dinner at a different time. But they were like, every once in a while you need to mix it up because life is going to throw different curveballs to them. And if they're very routine and very structured and oriented, they're not going to respond as well. So sometimes it's good to just surprise them and keep things kind of different and moving.
And I am not good at that. I have just been kind of low energy lately. I'm kind of looking into some I don't know, health reasons why that might be. But for me, I'm like trying to conserve every ounce of my energy. So it's very like routine. Like everything has to happen routinely so that I can like get through the day and kind of prepare for the next day and whatever. However, my kids have these random school days off. I don't think they have a full week of school in October, and November is not much different. But anyway, so yesterday they had a day off. We were going to go to a playground. It starts raining. And so I literally do a detour in the car and just like took them to Panera, and they were so thrilled. They were having bagels and cinnamon rolls and muffins and all this stuff. And then it cleared up and we went to a different playground and we were kind of mixing it up a little bit. So I have it in my DNA. I can be spontaneous if I need to. It's just not something I gravitate towards because, again, it's the predictability really helps me and my nervous system. And I just feel like that's what I need for myself. But then it's not always the best for my kids when it's just
Yes.
like, we're doing
Some
the same
degree.
thing over and over and over again.
To some degree, they find comfort in that and they can
Yeah.
relax because they know their brain can relax because they know routine, this is what we're going to do and this is what we know. And so they can be more confident and relax at home. But this is just like little things to sprinkle in. Like we sprinkled in one day we were coming home from school and we had a fun music blasting because my daughter's in charge of the music. So she's like blasting whatever songs are, super popular that she likes. She's doing that. And so the kids started wanting to yell at people out the window. And so they're really kind of shy and like, should we talk to people outside the window? And then they got a little bit more brave and they thought, okay, we're gonna yell out the window. And it was just something that was not in their comfort zone. And it was so cute to see them. They had so much fun. They were laughing so hard. They yelled at people and said, there were people running from the high school and they said, run faster. And there's, somebody walking their dog and they were like, or they said hi to somebody, they just were, it was nice things that they were yelling, but they were
Good.
out of their comfort zone to like yell at a stranger out of their car.
I'm just thinking when you said they're yelling at people, I'm like, Michelle, what are they yelling? Like that sounds scary to me. But if
Awful
as long
things.
as as long as it was friendly and it wasn't like scaring the people that they were yelling at, then I'm sure that that's fun. But I know what you mean as far as like outside of the comfort zone. Like I try to sometimes do that with the kids. But it's just more something where it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but when it comes to interacting with people that they don't know, I feel like sometimes, at least my kids, they're like not sure how to act sometimes. Like just like the pleasantries and some of those things. It's not that my kids are ill-mannered, it's just that sometimes they kind of don't know what to say or like how to communicate.
Got a little.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, that's just more kind of getting them comfortable with like making small talk or being able to have conversations with an adult and that kind of thing. So especially like at church or whatever, if I'm introducing them to someone and the types of things that they would say, like let's just make sure it's not inappropriate. Like who knows what's going to come out of their mouths, like bathroom humor and stuff. Like let's not do that at church. But it's it's a good opportunity for them to kind of be outside their comfort zone because it's not just talking to like their teachers and their friends and their parents, which is who they see most of the time.
Right. It's learning to do that. We did that when we would go out to eat and we would each order and
Yeah.
we stopped kind of ordering. I don't even remember when we stopped ordering for them, but we would pause and be like, and you? And so they would need to talk to the server and tell them what they would like, if they wanted, how they wanted it done, whatever. So it gave them a little bit more confidence to talk to the servers and be like, I can talk to them. It's like, okay, it's a little scary, but they get
Yeah.
just like talking to people at church, like, okay, I can talk to them. I can stand here nicely. And so it's just those little, like a little step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, for me, just real quick, in a kind of funny way that they do that is that at the pediatrician, I think it was when they turned maybe 5 or 6, that the pediatrician starts asking the kid the questions rather than the parent. And I'm just like sitting there where they're like, so do you eat vegetables? And I'm like, okay, what are they gonna say? Like, you have no idea. I'm like, do you eat healthy things? And then, it's just funny, like the stuff that comes out of their mouths. And then I'm trying to like not intervene and not interject.
Really mean.
Sometimes I will because they say something that's just like so far off. I'm like, okay, just so you know, this is oh, okay. But it is interesting when they're having to have, yeah, that kind of conversation with like someone in authority and they're actually being spoken to directly. And you just kind of, as a parent, have to kind of like step back and let them do that. But yeah, I get lots of interesting things coming out of their mouths when they have their yearly checkups. Like, as long as they're not calling Child Protective Services on me, this is probably fine.
We're okay.
Yeah.
At one point, they played, I think this was when they were younger, but they used to run over to the neighbor's house, and like ding dong doorbell ditch. And they were a little uncomfortable with that. They felt bad. And so instead, they ding donged and then they said something nice and then they ran away. But it was still like out of their comfort zone to like ring somebody else's doorbell or knock on their door. This was like a little step, little
Well,
step.
now everything is like everyone has their cameras. In fact,
Yes.
we had an interesting parenting lesson for my son because he and his buddies were doing that and running away. And then we're like, everyone has cameras and they know it's you, right? And he's like, oh, like he didn't know. So then we had what my husband called an apology tour where he went around and actually was apologizing. But back when I was in middle school, high school, I was in the marching band and we would sell citrus and hoagies. And I actually went like door to door in the neighborhood. If you can imagine this, you young listeners, like what? We went door to door and I would like sell grapefruit for my band fundraiser door to door. And now that's like seems completely mortifying to do that. I don't even know if people do that anymore. But anyway, it was something where, yeah, just kind of them understanding sometimes there's consequences, right, for the things that you're doing. That's pretty funny.
Just the fun, the
Yeah.
fun. As we kind of wrap up here, is there anything that you are really looking forward to as we kind of begin this new holiday season of all the things, Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and here we go.
Yeah, and here we go. Well, my kids love Halloween decorating. I was with a client this past Saturday, which is unusual for me to do it on the weekend, but Pat took them to get even more Halloween decor, which we really didn't need. And so, but it's something that they really enjoy. So I came home to our, skeleton like waving, like all this other stuff. So the joy that they get out of it makes me happy. It's not my aesthetically pleasing decor necessarily, but I think the other thing is just really minimizing the things that I'm doing, or maybe just, and this is really what I did last year and it worked really well for us, but just finding like a couple things, sort of like I've noticed my kids really don't care much about like the fall fest type of stuff. So we might just wait and do more of like the light displays when it comes to Christmas time. We did professional photos with my family over the summer. So I already have like a family photo for the Christmas cards. And so I want to kind of do that on the earlier side just because like I have the photo already, just kind of get that out. But just being really intentional and prioritizing the few things that I want to focus on. And it is hard though, if I'm ever scrolling Instagram or Facebook and then the ads come up for like all of these different activities and Winter Wonderland this and buy your tickets. And I just find that doing a few kind of like curated events is good for my family. And I don't feel like we have to go to all the things. So, yeah, that's kind of how I'm trying to approach the season. How about you?
Yeah, I love that. I think we mentioned that before, but just to talk to your family, have a check-in of what exact things do you care about in which seasons. Yeah, our kids, we like Halloween a little, but we don't like the scary side of it. So we have about 6, maybe 7 dragons, inflatable dragons that we have. One of them is dying. And so my husband spent all day Saturday trying to resurrect it and like make it live because you can't buy it anymore. So he tried to like, tape it all together and take it apart so that it would work correctly. So we have several dragons that we love. And then we have over 1,000 trick-or-treaters that come. And so it's a
Whoa.
crazy day.
Well, I don't even know because we're out with our kids most of the time. So I just do the whole like put the basket, like take one or whatever. And we do live across the street from a college campus. So I feel like a lot of times it's these 18-year-olds that are trying to pass as 13, but we never have that kind of volume. I cannot believe, oh my gosh. So you have to like be on point with getting your treats in advance then. Wow.
Yeah. And last year it was on a Thursday.
Mhm.
Their Halloween falls on a Friday. So we are expecting even more people. So they come, we have a park that's near us and it's a very nice park, kind of a circle. So they come from over there, they'll go to that park and then they'll come across the street and over a little to our cul-de-sac. And then they'll come all the way down our cul-de-sac. And you think, there's not going to be that many people because like, few people here, a few people there. And then soon, like waves of people, especially when it gets dark, waves of people will come. And then the whole street will be full of people of just having fun and having a great time. We all, as neighbors, know that it's going to be huge. And so we all set up on our driveway because if you were going in and out of the house, it's too much. So we set up on our driveway and you go hang out with all the other neighbors on their driveway. And they love to know the count. So my husband keeps a count. We're at one end of the cul-de-sac and another neighbor keeps a count at the beginning of the cul-de-sac. And they love to compare what number are you on? How many people do you have? Like a
They
whole,
have like actual like physical counter thing. Oh my
he uses,
God.
he'll count
Yeah.
how many people and then he'll use his phone.
That is amazing. And growing up, we were in the suburbs, but it was kind of like initially middle of nowhere. And then there started being some development. But we would have to like drive between houses because there were just, I didn't live in like an actual like planned neighborhood. And we barely, I mean, my mom would like get the candy and stuff, and maybe there would be like 10 kids, maybe. And now they're in a 55 and over, and they barely get any kids. I can't wait to tell her, you guys get 1,000. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was over 1,000 last year. We
Oh
had
my God.
10 bags of Costco candy and we ran out. And I was looking for other things around the house. I was getting the kids candy they didn't want. We gave away little waters from Costco. I've had dollar store bracelets, like glow bracelets that I was like, oh, I got those in a drawer. And it's like, we gave away those. I mean, anything I could like find of like, we got another bag, I think, from another neighbor who we all share if somebody's out.
Great decluttering tip. Go in your house and find whatever you can that a
I
kid might
know.
take for Halloween.
Neighbor collects toys. So all year she'll collect coloring books, toys, stuffed animals, and that kind of thing. And then she gives those out instead of candy, and lets kids pick a toy. And so her house, her front yard is completely covered in like different toys that kids can come and pick out a toy.
Apparently, I need to next year be heading to your place for Halloween. I will bring my children. They will be astounded. Wow, that sounds like a
Crazy.
great time.
It is. We try to also invite like the kids' friends who, as you said, might have grown up in a home that like you don't have a lot of houses right next to you, or Halloween, it just isn't that big, or nobody comes to your neighborhood. So we try to get the kids to invite like some other fun friends, and then they usually like wander around and then hang out at our house pretty much the rest of the evening. So we might do like a movie in the courtyard or something where they could just, because I really would like to keep them here versus
Yeah,
like meandering around all evening long because that
right.
get a little scary.
Yeah.
All good. Yeah. So I'll let you know how it goes, but it should be crazy since it's on Friday.
Oh my goodness. Well, good luck. At least it's not the 13th.
Right. I know. All right. Well, thanks so much. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Always good to talk to you.